Good morning, you merry sausages. Yeah, as Ben said, please put questions in the chat. I'm going to close the chat in a minute so that I'm not staring at it as it rolls. I will leave that to Ben and Martin, but please put stuff in there. And yeah, I'm going to try and leave about 15 minutes ish at the end, and we can chat stuff because I hope that the things which I'm going to share with you this morning are going to inspire a little thought, a little bit of a brain tickle, as it were. So there we go. And just for my own peace of mind, I'm going to win Zoom bingo right off the bat and say, can everyone see my screen shared? Amazing. There we go. We've got that out of the way. Fantastic. Well, all right. So this session is entitled Sort Your Biz Out, Mate. I've called it the fundamentals for self-employment and doing it yourself, but that's a bit clickbaity as a title. So I'm going to jump straight in, and we're going to talk about what is this thing? What is this session? So, working for yourself, as I know many of us are, there are a lot of shoulds and musts and have tos that kind of wrap up what we do, um, which honestly I believe is a bit rubbish, really, because nobody should be telling you what to do except you. You got into this thing to build something that is yours. All right. I'm going to set that up top. You got into what you do to build something that is yours. And it can be really easy to get wrapped up in the rules and the regulations. That was big air quotes for anyone who is just listening. Um, and you kind of forget what you're here for. All right. It's dead easy to do that as well because so much stuff goes on around us. And you're trying to fold your business into a model that you've seen your favorite entrepreneur do. You're trying to follow the latest hack or technique or whatever, and it just doesn't work. And you end up banging your head against your desk every bloody day because you're constantly butting up against the boundaries that you set for yourself or that you haven't set for yourself, which is potentially where this headbanging comes into play. So today, and from every single day forward after this, it is time to sort your biz out, mate. All right. So, who am I? Because otherwise, I'm just some chap on a screen wearing a hat and a jaunty t shirt. I am Tom Jepson, to be precise. I am a parent. I am a full-time carer. I am an ICF accredited coach, and I am a massive nerdy creative person as well. 15 years into a user experience design career, underneath everything else. So I've been around the block. I've seen a lot of things. I've been an employee. I've been self-employed multiple times. And every time it has led me back to here, to this point of self-employment and trying to carve out whatever the heck space I feel like right now. I am a lifelong musician and general maker of noise. I am D&D obsessed. I run regular nerdy tabletop roleplay games online and in real life. Tattooed heavily, heavy metal loving horror nerd with a penchant for Lego. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. But what about this session? All right. Today we are going to be looking at 5 things, and I'm going to try and go as swiftly as possible without skipping over stuff because I hope that they all inspire some questions. So we're going to have a look at what we do before we begin because there's a bit of preamble to this. We're going to have a look at intention setting. We're going to have a look at you. Well, I'm not going to look at you because that might feel a bit creepy, but I'd like you to look at you. We're going to have a look at a toolkit of things that you can use to actually action some of this stuff. And then we're going to look at action, taking action, designing action, making things happen, because otherwise you've just got ideas and ideas are worth nothing unless you do something with them. So before we begin, I'll slow down briefly. So what this is okay? Because there may be questions about what the hell is the point of this session. What this is logical, all right? I promise you, this is logical. These are questions that you are going to ask yourself, and I really hope that they unlock your thinking around what your business is, why it does what it does, and most importantly, who you are in that mix. I'm going to try not to say anything to do with balance, because when you work for yourself, it is a blend, not a balance between life and work. If I do say balance, it's a slip of the tongue because old habits die hard. Now, this stuff is work that I have done with my clients over the years a lot. It kind of underpins everything we do as we start a relationship together. And every single time I say that Scout's honor, people come away with something to focus on that is meaningful and purposeful, and they hit the road and they get stuff done. But they put in the work. What this isn't, and I'm sorry if anyone was expecting a nice little neat packaged box, this is not a do as I say method, because who the hell am I to tell you how to run your business? All right. There are no major answers here that you can easily copy and paste and, whack on your sticker sheet. There's things you can use, they're tools, but you are definitely going to be doing some work. And I promise you, again, it's worth it. So I believe what you're going to get out of this, more than anything, is a slice of tasty motivational pie. Filling is, whatever suits you. I'm a lemon meringue person myself. And this is going to get you set for rest of today, tomorrow, next week, next month, however long. It will get you there because you will get you there. Right. In with both feet. 3 questions for you, and just have them as thinking prompts. You can have them for right now. You can have them for later. All these things, this deck of slides are going to be shared afterwards. So please don't feel you need to, furtively scribe every single note. But I want to ask you these 3 questions because they're important. So ask yourself, what are you here for? Take this session as a frame. What are you here for? Feels obvious, doesn't it? But when you really ask, you might not actually know. And then once you've kind of addressed what you're here for, I want you to think about where you would like to be, or who you would like to be, more importantly. That's always a big question I ask people at the end of our coaching sessions. Who are you becoming? So ask yourself, who do I want to be? And then, once you've kind of addressed those 2, what is your motivation to actually follow through on getting something done? Do you know? Have you ever thought about it? I'm not going to do the whole Simon Sinek, this is your why thing, because I find it a little contrived. But he has a point. You do need something to motivate you. So whether it is being able to take Fridays off, I like that. I like not working on a Friday when the best I can. It might be I want to make serious bank in the next 5 years so I can move to a different country and go and live a really chilled lifestyle. What's your motivation to actually make you pick up your feet and move on? Ask yourself these tomorrow when you think about your brand new day. See what you say to yourself. Right. This is the first chunky bit of this sorting your biz out, intention setting. So this this is where we really begin. And it is kind of a goal setting thing. And I know people sometimes feel a little icky about doing that. I used to, I kind of still do sometimes. You know, I'm not a New Year's resolution person. New Year, put my teeth in. New Year's resolution person. There we go. It makes me a bit skin crawly, but it's really, really important to have somewhere this destination, because otherwise you could just be kind of meandering and wandering aimlessly. Uh, and then we end up comparing ourselves to everyone else because we're not doing as well as they are. You can't do well if you don't know where you're going, because then you don't know how when you've got there, right? So what we're going to do, I'm going to share in a second 3 parts of a statement that you can write for yourself. And this is going to be using your business as the frame. Okay. The frame might be something that you want to get for your business, get in your business. It might be something that you want to do or that you want for your business to do. It might be, again, somewhere or someone that you want to be within your business. Maybe you don't want to do the do anymore and you want to hire someone else to do it for you. You just want to be the grand overseer of things. And this last one, maybe you want to let something go because progress and forwards momentum doesn't always need to be additive. It can be subtractive. Maybe you've got a challenging client that requires firing. Maybe you want to let go of some, you know, business practices that aren't making you happy. Whatever it is, consider if the frame is actually releasing something. So let's dive in. Feel free to make notes as we go, but I will share this afterwards because this might need a little bit of thought. So this is a format that I use with people to frame up everything that you want to achieve. Okay. It's important that you can answer each of these little bits of statement clearly. You can articulate yourself in a way that you understand. All right. We are going to go fast, but when we've wrapped it all up, please go back and have a think about it. Really think about the thing that you want to frame up. Okay. Because it will underpin, or in fact, not even underpin, it will form one half of the thing we're going to look at. The other half is you. Spoiler alert. Um, so this thing, broken down into 3 steps. We have a look at right now, I want to something. This is a challenge or a goal. This is your little kind of place to get to, right? Right now, I want to something because this is your why, your motivation. This is what's going to, keep you going when the wind blows hard and the wolves are scratching at the doorposts. And then number 3, doing this will something. This is an outcome. It's an achievement. It's the reaching of the next milestone. What will doing this thing do for you? An example, it might be right now, I want to write a brand new course to sell because it is hard to generate consistent client work and therefore consistent income. Doing it will encourage people to engage with me because they trust my knowledge, my experience, and my expertise. right there, that gives a foundation on which we can start to stack things. And let it sit for a second. I can see some thoughtful faces. All right. This doesn't need to be one and done either. Come back to it. Make sure you can see it. You know, get 3 different colored post-it notes and plaster them across your desk so that you've got them there in front of you. Something that occurred to me moments before we started this session is that I haven't given any reference to time frame with this. I know I mentioned like New Year's resolutions and things before, but really, right, when you think about a short-term goal, a behavioral change, 3 months, there we go, 3 months is a long-term goal. 3 months, 90 days. That is how long it takes, according to some science, which I'm not going to cite because I've forgotten the reference. 90 days is what it takes to rebuild or reestablish a new behavior, a new, method of doing something. 90 days of doing that stuff. That's kind of a long time, right? So if you were to write this little statement, you could think of it as a 90-day thing. And then in 3 months' time, you can come back and see where you got to, and you can then chunk for another 90 days. It makes it manageable. I mean, I kind of like to do this on a monthly basis just to give myself a focus for one thing. It's 2 things for one thing. But whatever time frame you want to use, make it meaningful so that you're not going to write your statement and then go, oh, I'm going to forget about that in about 4 weeks' time. It's got to stick. All right. This is where we get into the meaty bit of all of this. I often see people squirm a little bit when we start talking about them, which is why I'm never going to pick on anyone in particular if I ask a question, which I'm probably not going to. But we're thinking about you, right? You are the business. For anyone who is doing client service work face to face, you are the business, right? I am my business. I am a coach. I work with people one to one and in small groups, and I can always see like the whites of each other's eyes. But who are you within the business, right? Who are you? Thinking about this kind of you strategy is going to add the opposite side of the. I know I said I wouldn't say balance, but it's going to add the opposite side of the scale to the business, the business, the money making bit, because you are the heart of everything that you do, right? So we're going to have a quick look at your values. We're going to have a look at setting a destination for yourself. And we're going to ask a really big question about where are you right now? So I don't know how often you've done this or you do this or if you ever have, but have you really considered what you value in your work and in your life? If somebody asked you, could you honestly tell them and say, these are the things? The values can change over time, but do you know what they are to begin with? I've put together a very brief set of words. In fact, not even brief looking at my slide here. It's not that brief. There's a whole bunch of words. And I'm just going to chuck them up on the screen for a second. And I'll share them afterwards so you can have a think about the kind of things that may resonate with you as values. But maybe you value growth in your business. You value the concept of growth, the aspects of growth, or independence. I'd say that for most self-employed people, independence is a huge one. But I can't say what you value. For me, some of the big standout ones there, it's fun and playfulness, because those things, they make everything better. Bringing a little bit of joy into what we do, right? You don't need to pick loads and loads of things, but if you have sort of three core things that you could go, you know what? That's what I value. It adds a whole new dimension to everything that you do. Only you can say what you value. I'm going to say it louder for people at the back. Only you can say what you value. Other people might be able to infer it from your behaviors, from how you conduct the business, from how you conduct yourself, whatever it is. Only you can actually say if the things that you do are congruent with what you value. So please hold on to that, because it's a little bit of ownership that nobody can ever take away from you. And just makes you you. And it makes this foundation of what you're building. Destination. So just like that intentional statement for the business, being able to kind of clearly state a destination for yourself, like the points on a map, as if you're taking a journey. And clearly stating your destination in your life and then in your work within the business, within the cosmic multiverse, is really important. Because life is furiously busy. I mean, my life is, and I know a lot of yours will be as well, in whatever you're doing. Everyone's something is something. And it makes life really bloody busy. And when you are serving somebody else's needs, which as adults we generally do, you can lose sight of the most important thing in the world, which is who you are. When we have children, we suddenly don't become ourselves, we become a parent. When we start a business, we're no longer an employee, we are a business owner. Pieces of our identity shift. And it can be really hard to hang on to the destinations that we want for ourselves, right? So there's a few little prompts for you here to think about where you're going. Where are you going now? What about next? When you've reached now, what's after that? How about later on, after you've reached next? What's the thing you'd like to get to, or the place you'd like to get to after that? This is kind of the biggest question, even though it's second on the list, is what do you want? What do you want from all of this? Be honest. And when you think about what you want, is that destination actually really where you want to be? People think about launching a business and growing and having staff, and we have these big intentions and these big pictures of what business looks like. But if you don't really want to have people employed underneath you, the destination of having a big agency that serves multi-million-dollar clients, is that really going to be where you want to go? And then for your intention, is the destination that you set for yourself going to get you to that intention for your business? Because they are, I'm going to do a weird coachy thing. They're all woven together. Synergy. Um, they are really heavily woven together. Your intentions, your direction, and the things for your business. And if you remember only one thing from this, is the destinations you set for yourself and for your business are allowed to be milestones on a bigger journey. They are not the end. If you get to the end of 3 months of your your intention or your goal setting and you haven't quote unquote got to where you wanted to be, that's fine. But if you have got there and then you're going, what next? That's perfect because you've acknowledged that this is not the end. So the destination can be a milestone and not an ending. A very quick look at where you are now. Get that 1,000-yard view. Get all your cards on the table. We talk about making to-do lists and the like. Start of every week, brain dump onto a piece of paper. Brilliant. But consider that within that, what is actually eating up your focus? If it's just that your head is full and you needed to brain dump, brilliant. But maybe there's things within that list that are actually really consuming your time and your energy. Maybe it's a launch, maybe it's a client project, maybe it's the fact that you've got to do 2 separate hospital type trips on the same day. Maybe it's just, what am I eating for tea tonight? What's eating up your focus? And then when you've dumped all this stuff down and you've thought about, where am I right now? What's missing? What's hanging out in these little peripheral bits behind your eyes, next to your ears? The bits that kind of get missed when you've got your blinkers on. Because oftentimes there's a whole bunch of really fun stuff hanging out back there that we kind of miss. But only because we don't look for it. Because all the other stuff is like, oh, this is really busy and this is eating up my focus. So think about what's missing. Because there could be some absolute gold hanging out in the places that you just haven't looked yet. And with all of this, when it comes to your intentions and your destinations for the business and for yourself, where are you today in terms of all of that stuff? Because knowing that is the first step to moving forward. So a very small diagram, because I bloody love a Venn diagram. It's nearly as good as a pie chart. Just a terrible, terrible visual. But do you know specifically like where your business and where you actually overlap? Like in terms of the skills that you have and the things that you sell to your clients? Are you kind of keeping yourself over here and having your business over here doing a completely separate thing? Because honestly, when those two things overlap and you can bring all the stuff that you really love into something saleable, because that's what business is. It has to sell something to make some money. Otherwise, it's just a hobby. If you're bringing the stuff that you really love and the things that make you you, oh, it's magic. It's really magic because you can bring it wholeheartedly, and not to sound too trite, but it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like, if I was to go back to the work that I was doing 10 years ago, making pictures of websites for people in Photoshop, as the design to then go and be built. If I was to do that today, God, that would feel like proper work. Because firstly, it's not what I'm very good at. I was quite good, but there are people who do it better. but also it just not make me happy. And trying to sell something that doesn't make me happy is, well, it feels a bit disingenuous, if I'm honest. And then you can never do the best work that you want to do. So, where do you overlap? Where do your directions, your intentions, where does it all marry up? That's probably a deeper thinking question for a couple of cups of coffee at some point. And if you don't know the answer, please shoot me a note. I'm here to help you find out. All right. Some practical stuff. Less introversion, more doing. 3 things that you can use, or you can ask yourself, because I said questions. 3 things, right? To ask yourself to give you all the stuff that you need to move forward. Everything. Chances are you've probably got some of it already. So, what do you have on hand now that can help you move forward? What's the best thing that you could do with what you've got? What about new stuff? Having all the tools in the, you open your junk drawer, that grey thing there, that's my junk drawer. If I open that, stuff's going to go and spill out all over the place. But chances are I've got stuff in there that I can probably use. But when I've rootled through the junk drawer and I've kind of gone, I'm not quite sure what to do next. What do you need? What new stuff do you need? Is it a skill? Is it a relationship? Is it a connection? Is it a letting go? A letting go can be new because it creates space. It's a win. What do you know least about within what you do? To take the web design example, I'm probably very rusty in that regard today. So I'd have to go, well, I probably know least about that right now. So I'm going to have to go and find some new stuff to make me better at it. And when you think about the new world that you're building for yourself, because this counts as newness, where do you find strength? Where do you find motivation? Where do you find empowerment when you think about the new world that you're going to create? Because it's not always about new stuff. It's very much about new feelings as well. I've kind of ended on a bummer for this section, but what's in the way? What irritating stuff is stopping you from moving? I Coaches, we talk about barriers quite often, putting walls up. But what are your biggest barriers right now? If I was to say to somebody, well, you're telling me you can't do this, tell me what's in your way. Can you articulate it? And of those barriers, which of them are stopping you now from moving forward? And I do mean now, like right now in this moment. Although maybe not in this moment because you're here talking to me. And then, as another little thought prompt for you, if you know what your barriers are and you know which of them might be stopping you now, what do you need to step over or release that barrier? And then we circle back to what do I have on hand and what's new. So it's really easy to go, oh, there's something in my way, I can't do it. But then you say, well, what do I need to make it move? Chances are we can't, we might have to bear hunt this one. We can't go round it, under it, over it. Kind of got to go through it. So what's going to help you do that? We've got about 10 minutes left before I want to open the floor. And this is kind of the crux of the whole thing. Because I said up top about ideas are great, but they're pointless if you're not going to do anything with them. I used to be that guy. I used to have all the ideas, but never did anything with it. So we're going to have a quick think about what noticeable impact looks like. I'm going to get moving. I might share a few ideas that you could use to take action. But then we're going to get to a really important bit, which is all about designing actions. So what defines impact for you? What about value? With both of these things, it's dead important to know what they are, what it looks like, what shape it takes. Because then when we think about the destinations and our intentions, we know which of the outcomes we're going to achieve will be truly impactful and truly valuable. You might achieve something, but realistically, it has no bearing whatsoever on your bigger direction because it's just not creating the kind of impact that you want. The value of something might actually be the impact that it creates. Maybe the effort of getting somewhere, that's what the value is for you. Just doing the work. Great. But acknowledging it and understanding what that is important. A few things you can ask yourself about this, is impact the same as value? What does make or add value for you? What adds value to your direction? And a slightly different framing. When you really think about it and you listen to that bit of your chest that you can feel it when you think about something and it makes you feel a bit awkward, you feel that little tension. When you think deeply about, what you're doing, what feels like it adds value? It might not actually do it, but what feels like it adds value to what you do? And then, what would be really impactful to have right now? I'm sure we could all say, I'd like some more cash in the bank, please. That would generally be quite impactful. Even as a short-term win, What impactful thing or person could you be right now for yourself or for somebody else? Stick these on some post-it notes, whack them around the house. Walking out to the car through the front door. A little question prompt for me. Open the fridge. Bombarded by the thought of impact versus value while you're trying to find eggs for an omelet. In all of this, we think about value and impact. It all comes down to doing. And the doing can be really hard. We write an intention, we give ourselves a frame, we understand a bit better who we are. You know, we think about the tools we need to get going. We know what a really valuable outcome looks like. But when we get to open the door, we try and strap on a shoe or two. It's just massively overwhelming, isn't it? Really? We're all human at the end of the day. And it's okay to feel like that. It shows you're really thinking and really feeling about what you're doing. You know, all the blank page paralysis, all the imposter syndromes, all the comparisonitis, you know, all of that stuff. It is real in its various, you know, ways. It is, absolutely. You're seeing stimulus from outside, plenty of stimulus from outside. Um, and you see someone else doing really well, again, big air quotes with that. And it kind of kicks you a little bit. So it's time now to put your really practical hat on. This is the bit you can be a little bit, I'm going to use the word carefully, but a little bit unfeeling with it, because this is about doing, because you've already got the feeling behind it. So, 5 things that you're going to use to design the right action for you. And I will share all this in the slides at the end. What are you going to do? Ask yourself, what am I going to do? And then ask yourself, why am I going to do it? Because if you don't know why, what's the point? Then when are you going to do it? What do you need to get there? You've got some tools to help with that. And then most importantly, thinking about the impact and the value, how will you know that you've done it? Don't be afraid to get granular with these things. It can feel maybe a bit overly to-do list making, you know. It's deady. Again, that's a nice little procrastination technique there for you. If you don't want to do something, just make a list. Again, it's good for the head clearing, but don't get bound up in making the lists and setting the actions if you're not actually going to do them. Yeah, don't be afraid to make them small. If it helps you, make them small. Build this kind of muscle memory, this process of stepping through the things, and then you'll know that you've done it. And when you've got your little list, I'm going to give you bonus question number 6. What is the first thing you're going to do to move forward? And I really do mean the first thing, because that's a point of honesty with yourself. You know, let's say I'll get off a sales call with somebody. The first thing I'm going to do when I've off that call is I'm going to stand up and I'm going to go, get in. That was a great call, because hopefully it was. And then I'm probably going to write their name on a big piece of paper so I don't forget them. What's the first thing, the number one thing you're going to do? Because that step is what is going to get you moving. All right. The end? Yeah, kind of is, but it's not. Because you can do all the things. You're running a business. You started it yourself with support of others, I am sure. But you did it. And you can do it. but you can do it by following through on what you said you're going to do. All right. Actually doing the damn thing. Let other people know what you're doing. You know, have you heard the phrase building in the wild? You tell someone what you're going to do, and then you go and do it, and you do it publicly. It's part of a bigger strategy piece to actually holding yourself accountable to things. Because when you really love it, it doesn't matter if you're building it in the wild and the path goes all winky wonky and things get a bit grubby now and again, because you're doing something that you love. And because you're building it where people can see it, they start to love it too. And then they get on board with you. And it all builds and grows. And you can do it as well. Give me a shout. Don't be a stranger. You know, if you need a partner in your corner, give me a shout. If you just need to send someone a DM that says, oh my God, I can't do this, just send a DM. I'm sure you've probably got people in your life as well who you can do that with. Don't sit on it. Don't hold it in. Let the crazy out. It's okay. We're all past first dates here. It's fine. Now, I'm aware that was a lot to take in all of 47 minutes. So drop me an email. Find me on Tinternet. Please connect with me on LinkedIn if we're not already connected. Thank you for embracing the space, trusting the process. I will open the floor for all of 12 minutes. I'm going to go have a quick peek in the chat, see what's going down. And yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Tom. Super, super, super. Oh, we're back in the room. Lovely, lovely, lovely. That was amazing. It was quite meditative, that. I enjoyed that. Yeah, I've got loads of homework to do now, so that's good, which is the main thing. I'm sure everybody in the room does. Right, so as Tom said, we've got 11 minutes left. So from that, any questions? You can do an actual hand up or a digital hand, or you can just shout out, whatever you like. Evelyn, first up, digital hand. Over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I had trouble coming up with exact answers for any of those because I'm not even doing the basics right with my own business, which is actually generating an income, which again, I'm still trying to get my head around, thinking, even if people tell you you're doing everything right, which I do believe them, it still feels like you're doing everything wrong because it's just not generating anything. And you think, I don't know what more I can do. I genuinely have no idea what more I can do. And it feels wrong whether you take action or not.
You're a human being, and I'm sure everyone else in the room will probably say, whatever you do, you can't do right for doing wrong. Or is that the thing? That one? Whatever you do, it feels like you're going to bugger it up. Do you believe in the thing that you do?
It's harder to believe in it than I was when I first started. It's been harder to believe in it recently.
Okay. This is not unsolicited coaching, by the way, but I'm just going to throw a couple of questions at you, seeing as you asked. Do you believe in your ability to do the thing that you wanted to do?
Yeah,
Not run a business. Do the thing that you wanted to do.
yeah.
All right. So then, what tools do you need to make the harder stuff easier?
Again, mine is blank.
That's fine. That's where the thinking comes in. But if you believe in what you do and your ability to do it, huge step forward already. And we're all here. We got you. So you can. Running a business isn't easy. I'm pretty sure I can see some nods. I can see some nods. It's not easy. Derek. Oh, he's on mute.
How's that?
There we go.
Better.
What I was trying to say, I didn't realize I was on mute, was that no matter how much you believe in your ability, it's trying to convince other people that actually what you're trying to do is worthwhile and that you are value for it, whether no matter cost, but just value, that you understand what you're doing, you know what you're doing. I mean, it's one of the things that is since I've sort of left London and come down to outside of London and outside of the general larger advertising business, is to convince people that what you're offering is worthwhile having, you know, and people seem to think that it isn't anymore. I mean, I'm in the photography business, so that's why it's harder because, I mean, the only voice I have is my work. And if you say to somebody, the reason why I should do it for you is because I will give you that extra bit or that to it. And it's convincing them that that it is very hard actually. And to rather than convincing people who want you, which is easy, it's convincing people that probably have got to think they've got the thousands of others, and that does knock your confidence, I mean, I'm fine with that. I've been through quite a long creative life, so therefore I've had more rejects than you get acceptance. You know that when you go for a job, there's 20, 30 other people, and if you get it, great. If you don't, it's not because it's either because of your personality, because of your work, because of your attitude, and because of your cost. So you have to learn to accept those things, and one accepts that. But it does get difficult to convince people, no matter how much bravado you have, think, well, yeah, come on, this is going to be fun. This is going to be good. It is a tough shout, and it does knock. And the thing with creative business is that you're never happy with what you do yourself. You always judge your own work as being below par, even no matter how much praise you get. You always think, I have to try this, I have to do that.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing, is convincing people. Once you can convince yourself, I know convincing yourself is hard, but once you convince yourself that I'm worthwhile, then it's trying to convince other people. Yeah.
Well said.
And I do think one of the things I like about this group is that we get support for that. So thank you to everybody.
100%. And you write about creative people.
Yeah.
The heart lives firmly here.
Yeah.
The heart lives here. If someone's rejecting our work, we immediately think they're rejecting us.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Every
true.
time. It never gets easier. I hate, and I'm sure there are people who are very stoic and steely about it, and we can be.
Yeah.
We have the toughest of skins, but our heart is still here, and someone's there hitting it with a pencil every time they say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amos.
Um, for me, a big thing at the moment is visibility.
Mhm.
Well, for a long time, but I'm getting to that point. That might be a big missing link or a big piece that is missing. But then I sort of get hyped up and I think, oh, yeah, okay. And then no, everything just comes crashing down. And I just need to build a foundation for why it is right to be visible. And I think in the chat we touched on, and you had it in your slides, the external noise.
Yeah.
And as a creative, maybe you are more sensitive and all that stuff and the comparing and all, it can easily crush you. So I don't know if you have anything to say for that. I think doing the homework, like this whole session, understanding what are the things that we really value in all these things that will probably help build that confidence so you know what you're bringing into the world and clarifying your message. But if you can, I don't know, have any reframe for why being visible is the right thing to do. Yeah.
That's an interesting one. And actually, this is a conversation I had literally this morning with somebody on LinkedIn. Because I'm not going to throw shade here, but they did the whole the easiest thing for people to do as creative businesses, as coaches, is just to pick a niche and that will make you successful. And my challenge to that is not what will make you a success. Breaking through the noise is what will make you a success. 2025, right, is the noisiest that the world has ever been. Social media is generally our go-to platform, our outbound, because it's instant.
And we have AI.
And we have, I mean, I have thoughts on that. We'll come to that another day, but the general social medias, and we're kind of at their, women fancy as to how much we can actually be seen. Like, because it is so noisy, and because for want of a better word, the generic is the stuff that floats to the surface a lot. These are the 5 hacks you must do to be a successful business. Are they? Really? And when you're just trying to be seen by being somebody who is putting themselves on the line, yeah, I feel you. It's really hard to feel seen as well as be seen. So, I mean, I don't have a method or a playbook for this, because I then suddenly sound like I'm a marketer trying to peddle you some system, which is actually never going to work. But finding your way to be consistent, and I'm visually, mentally underlining your way to be consistent. That might be do a post on a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Friday, and not other times. That's your consistency. Find your rhythm, make the time for it, and then go think about something else. Give yourself a boundary within that, so that you're not constantly feeling like you're not seen. Go and do the LinkedIn thing for half an hour a day, whatever your rhythm is. Post, comment, like, share, connect, do all that good stuff. I promise I'm not a cynic about it. I do try and do it myself every day as well. Like, find your rhythm and then let it go. You don't need to be on there all the time, because it will just make you feel less seen.
I think a struggle is as well, even just being seen, that is so triggering. So it's like constantly, I want to be like authentic and all that, but then it's like, oh, it's just too much. I'm just too much, like I'm feeling too deeply. I'm caring too much about that. It doesn't make sense for people. It's like not lined up with my brand, whatever,
Yeah.
But I think what you said, finding my way, how I can be consistent, that might be a good filter.
Try it.
Yeah, thank you.
Try it. And if anyone has seen the things that I post, you'll know that I don't really have a filter, particularly. Like, I gave up making LinkedIn content and things to try and appease the beast of LinkedIn. Like, I'm not saying that's my personal brand, because I'm not an antagonist by any stretch, but don't try and be seen by the way the machine wants you to be seen. Be seen for you. All right. I think we've got one more.
So yeah, we'll squeeze in Stuart. Obviously, if you've got to go because it's 12, that's fine. We'll go Stuart, and then we'll bring it to a close. Thank you, mate. Stuart, over to you.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good presentation there, Tom, and plenty of things to think about. Yeah, I think what people have been saying about comparing ourselves with others on social media is definitely something probably that all of us can relate to. And I think also, like, I put in a post the other day about myself being a freelancer as opposed to being a business owner, which you've said a couple of times on this call. And I think it gives you a bit of a different perspective on things. So yeah, I don't know. Uh, maybe kind of in terms of setting up a business and the kind of legal aspects of that. I don't know whether I personally haven't gone through all that, but I don't know whether other people have.
My two
Yeah.
cents on that is, if you are working for yourself and somebody hires you in whatever capacity, you're running a business. That's it. If you're a
Yeah.
freelancer in that respect, you go and you work in someone else's office to do things, you get paid by the hour, whatever, fine. You're still running a business. If you're selling courses, you're running a business.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, you're a business owner, and you can take yourself seriously in that world.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it?
You can, and please do. You take yourself seriously. If you want to call yourself a freelancer, that is fine. That's how you describe yourself. It has a connotation that people can relate to.
Yeah.
But be respectful of yourself and take yourself seriously in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Thank you. Final round of applause for Tom.
Yeah. Thanks, Tom.